designed the book to be a place that was inclusive from a spiritual perspective, but also inclusive from a disabled perspective, allowing for some space, because like even witchcraft, which is a very inclusive path, generally speaking, there is a lot of ableism there, just like in any spiritual path. And I wanted to talk about like, you are welcome here. Also, a big piece of that is the financial accessibility piece. There's a lot of commercialization of witchcraft out there. There's a lot of very expensive stuff, and you do not need to spend a lot of money to have a vibrant spiritual life that is meaningful to you.
Indeed, indeed. One of the things that excites me about your book is that, like, yeah, you can be a witch or whatever label you want to pick, and you don't actually have to do all these rituals and spells and whatever. You don't have to do all that stuff. You do what you want to do.
You know, in a high demand, high control religion, the standards are usually so high, and they say these are the only acceptable standards. You can't have uncharitable thoughts. You know, you basically can't have the range of human expression or feelings. And anything less than perfection is, and so they create the very problem that make you feel guilty, because they're saying this is what the level of, this is the requirement. And then they tell you how you can fix that. And that's by repenting and trying harder, which is a recipe for repressed rage and depression.
It's fascinating too, because even in narcissistic relationships, it's the exact same, which is when I really started tying the effects to narcissistic abuse and Christianity. They kind of have the same psychological outcomes. With a narcissistic relationship and a Christian, they're both trauma bonded to one another. So Christians trauma bonded to the church and their faith, and then the victim or the survivor is trauma bonded to the narcissist because of the chemical releases of highs and lows. So when you have these overstimulating highs, you get addicted to them, and then you have these overwhelming lows. And when you switch back and forth like that, you become trauma bonded.
Most people say, oh, religion and cult are two different things. But I look at it back now and I say, well, wait a second, how did this stuff get started? It started out as a cult, and then it became more established and entrenched, and theology developed up around it. And
Right.
I think, not to go too far off topic here, I study the writings of some medieval theologians and so forth, and I find it very interesting. And those people were honestly trying to figure out what the hell was going on. They didn't have the benefit of science that we had. They didn't have a methodology to figure out what the hell is going on. They didn't have a way to even ask the questions that we modern people should be able to ask.
I don't have to be afraid of like, what if I get a really bad or scary one? Like, it's just information. It is just a card, and something in me trusts that the right one's going to show up. And so far, like almost all of them have made sense in some kind of way. There's not been one where I'm like, oh my gosh, what? That's like the weirdest thing I ever saw. That makes absolutely no sense. It's often like, oh, that feels really clarifying. Or that makes me think about something, or like, oh, yeah, I was having an off day, but if I shift my perspective this kind of way, that actually feels a lot better. So I find it like very practical too. Yeah, and that it comes from me. It's not like some outside answer. It feels like it's coming from me.
It's a tool that you're using to access yourself.
Yeah.